We're going to learn why these partnerships fail and hopefully how to avoid them, how to avoid the mistakes that we make as partners. But joining me today in studio, it is my pleasure to introduce my distinguished guest co-host, Megan Porth. She's a managing attorney at Your Contract Shop. Good morning, Megan.
Good morning, Francisco. Thanks for having me.
You are a pro, man. I didn't know that you had all this radio background and things, and you're doing all this radio thing. I had no idea.
Yeah, this was my dream. My undergrad is in broadcast journalism, believe it or not.
The thing I tell people, the thing about radio is once you go to a radio station or once you become a co-host or what, it's like a bug, right? It's very it's very infectious, and you just want to do more of it.
Yeah, it's sexy. I mean, it's been sexy since Marconi, right? It is. I mean, I grew up in radio, believe it or not. My family owns broadcasting stations.
Marconi, of course, the Italian gentleman who came to the United States and actually invented the radio.
You got it, yeah. And it was funny because all my friends would always say, "Oh, can we get on the radio, Megan? Can we get on the radio?" And I'd make them audition and interview. I mean, is that terrible of me? I feel like I'm going to be repenting later in life. It's like, oh no, sorry, you didn't make the cut.
That's cruel, Megan.
It is.
That is surprising because Megan is a connector, and as you can tell, she's a cheerleader, a paradigm shifter, and an entrepreneur. My name is Francisco Javier, your co-host. CEO and founder of the Office Pile, named in 2015 one of the top co-working communities in the world. We have the most innovative and revolutionary office space expansion plan of any co-working space in the world, and it's called Top Speakeasies. I'll be talking about that a little bit later. But first, let me, I say this all the time because, I think right before the show, maybe the night before, somebody that smokes uses this microphone. And when you come in the morning at, 5:45, 6 o'clock in the morning, or in the case of one of our beautiful guests over here at 3:33 a.m.
Wasn't that early?
It just, that smoke is just kind of, anyway.
This morning after.
Exactly. This portion of the show is being brought to you by Gene Kernan, right here, who just walked into the studio with coffee, with Locomotive Marketing, turning free Wi-Fi into your number one marketing tool. When you come into the studio, you log on to the Enfuego network, and bam, we have internet just like that. We can log in with our social media, Facebook or LinkedIn or so on and so forth. So we never have to ask, what's the password? What's the Wi-Fi key or connection or anything like that? So this is what he does. It's really, really interesting. Leona Bush with Clean Kiss for the Kiss of Health. Brittany Eric, inspirational life coach, author, speaker, an incredible inspirational story. And Sally Valencia, trade broker with Trade Source. Also joining us in studio, we have two special guests, Michelle Buonincontri.
I love how you say my name.
Well, let me tell you something. If I see an Italian name with so many consonants in it, I think I just owe you that respect, just to say it correctly, because you are a certified divorce financial analyst at Being Mindful in Divorce. You're a speaker. You're a presenter. You specialize in women in transition, divorce financial planning, transitional financial planning, retirement planning, investing for women. And the key word, I think, it's
planning.
And we're talking about why partnerships fail. So planning, yes, I believe, is one of the key words. Good morning.
Good morning. Michelle. Thank you for having me.
And Susan F. Moody.
Yes.
What is the F? I've always wanted to ask what the F was for.
Well, you'll like it because it's Francine.
I'm in love with you already. Managing director of eWomenNetwork, inspirational speaker, best-selling author, certified success coach. And
wait, did you say success?
Success?
It just sounded like sex.
Did I? Subliminally, when I woke up this morning, maybe I had something in my mind. Certified success coach seized the day, and the reason that Susan corrected me is because she has also a radio program called Seize the Day Radio Host. As you can see, we have a powerful bevy of women entrepreneurs and knowledge inside this room. My head is exploding. But now let's go to the top. Good morning, ladies, again. And
good morning.
Good morning.
Megan, good morning.
Good morning.
Tell me something I don't know.
Oh, something you don't know about me or why business partnerships fail?
Make me write bad checks. Why business partnerships fail?
So when we're talking about this, I want to be really clear that we're not talking about why businesses fail, because the number one reason is generally lack of funding on that end, right?
Right.
But what we're talking about is kind of the emotional component. I mean, although I'm an attorney, I actually deal in emotions a lot, and I'm sure you ladies find this as well.
Oh, yeah.
And really, I feel like the number one reason why business partnerships fail is because of miscommunicated and a lack of expectation management.
Okay, so let me take this a little bit because there are several reasons I think that we're going to be talking about why these business partnerships fail.
Right.
But what you're saying is that we should take some time to define the expectations in the front end and have that very tough, quote unquote, conversation before you even consider going into a partnership. Because the reality might be that we're not made for each other.
Right. And I hate to say it, but there have been times when I've been, I don't want to say a deal killer, but I've come in, two people say, hey, we have this great idea.
Right.
We have this business, or I have my own business. She has hers. We want to join it together. And we start sitting down and going over all of the real hard questions that aren't even necessarily things that are kind of unforeseeable. They're things that could probably and possibly will happen within the next 6 months. And they decide, you know what, that's actually not going to work. Thank you, Megan, for saving us from that heartache and that pain.
Exactly. Now, Susan, why is it that we talk about, the partnership failed often after the fact? And I think that you can speak from experience.
Yes, and I think part of that, like Megan was saying, with not only with the expectations, but you kind of sometimes go into partnerships because of funding issues. You say, oh, they have the money.
Right.
Let's just kind of get together. And then you realize, well, our values aren't the same. Our objectives aren't the same. And all of a sudden, boom. And so I think, Francis, you're speaking of, had several partnerships, some for the right reason, some for the wrong reason. And yeah, it happens.
And it happens. Susan Moody, you had this experience. They were painful experiences.
Yes.
What do you wish you had known before getting into those experiences that you regret, that looking back you're like, I wish I'd have known this? What was it?
Well, actually, looking back, I realized I had known it. I just wasn't willing to realize it.
Oh,
that emotion.
Oh, okay. So,
Right.
Even if so what you're saying, you knew about it, but you went ahead and did it.
Well, I suspected it, right? So it's kind of like when you meet somebody on a date, right? And they have everything looks great, and then you kind of get in bed with them and say, okay, I can do this, I can do this, this is going to work. And then you find out, it's really not going to work. And you had those suspicions all along. So that was with my big, the partnership I lost the most money on, was I kind of realized they were a snake, but I got in bed with them anyways, right?
All right. So now that you bring the bedroom into the conversation, getting in bed, I think figuratively and maybe literally speaking, Michelle Buonincontri.
Yes.
You specialize in, as we said in the beginning, in planning. Now, this is more for couples, right? You sit down. For me, a partnership. It doesn't matter whether it's a business partnership or a personal partnership. A partnership is a partnership. And particularly in this day and age of entrepreneurs, that maybe my partner is also an entrepreneur, and perhaps not only my husband, my wife, but he or she is going to be also my business partner. What is, in your experience, the best advice that you can give anybody that is considering not only getting, to use Susan's words, in bed, not only figuratively but also literally?
I think that what Megan pointed to is really the most important thing. It's communication, right? I think the breakdown, we can say money, we can say it's style, it could be values, loss of trust. But in the end, it really comes down to communication. Is there undelivered communication? Were you clear from the beginning about your expectations? Did you maybe even have a plan about how are we going to talk when things go bad? Are we going to talk via email? Are we going to have an agenda? And if you're a couple, it's like you said, a relationship's a relationship. And a partnership, whether it's business, right, or it's a marriage, all those things still come into play.
Even when you start a personal relationship, and Megan Porth, managing attorney at your contract shop, I think you can speak from experience, having grown up in an environment where contracts and agreements were the norm, correct? Is it fair to say or to plan for even the most innocuous items in a partnership, like if I text you and if I don't text you back within an hour, don't panic. Or just to provide or to think about even the most little things in a partnership that might be or that might ignite perhaps something bigger in the future. Is that something that is fair to?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, really, this is a great thing about contracts. It's my favorite in the entire world is that we are able
You're
to.
strange.
I am. I'm not.
Who makes contracts my favorite thing?
My second favorite thing is occupational regulations. Well, it's not my favorite. I should say it's my least favorite, but it's my second favorite thing to talk about.
We have guests here that their favorite thing is, sex is my favorite thing, and we're talking about all these things. And here is Megan Porth, managing attorney at Your Contract Shop, my guest co-host today of Entrepreneurs en Fuego radio show, the #1 show in the planet, going, my favorite thing is contracts.
I know.
You're killing me.
I know. I'm like the least interesting person at the bar. I can guarantee you that. I'm not the one.
That.
We want to get. We want to get a ratings up. Maybe throw a little spice into this conversation.
I gotta spice it up a little bit.
All right, so let's go back to the point.
So, I mean, our entire economy is built on innumerable contracts. And something that you may not know is that we engage in contracts all the time, right? Because all you have to have is an offer, an acceptance of that offer, and then some exchange of consideration. So we are constantly contracting. Now, whether those things are enforceable in court, and we can get really nuancy in the law, but really we are making agreements all the time. So whether it's with your husband or it's with your business partner, we have to lay those things out because not only, and this is what I try to explain to other parties because I do a lot of negotiations. In fact, 50% of it is, of my business is negotiations. And I try to communicate to the other party that we aren't all nefarious, running around in a hood and a cloak, trying to harm each other. We just have different perspectives. And when I said that when we were going to go into a partnership together, again, tiny little nuancy thing, and we were going to purchase a house and flip it. And I said, I've always wanted a little yellow house. And I just think that would be so marketable. Well, you understood it as this bright neon yellow, and I understood it as a butter yellow. So you can actually get down to the nitty-gritty, and that is exactly what contracts are for. Because if you don't get down into the nitty-gritty, all you're doing is relying upon the general law that will cover everyone that covers no one, right?
Gotcha.
It doesn't help anyone.
Indeed, the truth, as I am understanding and getting from you, has many different shades.
It does.
All right. Susan Moody. How
can't say my name without the last name. First name without the last name.
For some reason, I mean, I messed up. I called you a certified sex coach, but what I meant to say was a certified success coach. Let's make sure that is on the record. You're managing director of eWomenNetwork. In your experience with the eWomenNetwork, do you find, first of all, explain what the eWomenNetwork is before I get in with my question.
Okay, well, eWomenNetwork is an international organization for women entrepreneurs and women in business. And so we kind of support each other to grow our businesses, and we have some different systems and tools in place to help you market your business and get some new clients and cash flow.
Do you folks ever talk about partnerships? I mean, because in this type of networks, we always talk about the things that we care about, right? I mean, the marketing, funding, what are we going to do next, objectives, setting our goals, finding our why, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Right. Do we talk in this type of meetings? Do we talk about partnerships at all?
We have not. I'm relatively new managing director of eWomenNetwork, but we do have speakers every month, and I'm thinking I might have to have Megan come be one of our speakers.
All
right. So here is a point that we're trying to prove that this being probably one of the most important topics that you have to have, Michelle, even in the front end of a relationship. We're not talking about them.
No,
we're not talking. And even and correct me if I'm wrong. Even if you're already, Michelle, even if you're already in the relationship, and if you're seeing that that relationship, personal or otherwise, is having little cracks and everything else, would it be okay then to take some time aside and say, all right, let's redefine or clarify what I expect from you and what you expect from me?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's something that happens in it should be a continual basis. It's not a one-time conversation. I mean, as we grow and we change and our expectations change, and now we have children or we have 2 careers or somebody quits their job or someone's retiring, those are definite conversations we should always have. I think as human beings, we start to think that the longer we're with somebody, the more they should just know us, right? They
Right.
should be like mind readers. They should know I need that, right? They love me, like, and then we feel like our love tank isn't being filled. And then there's this lack of trust, and then the intimacy falls apart. And that happens in business and in personal relationships. So communication is just so key. I mean, we mentioned so many things here, but I think that that's like really what it comes down to. And this is going to sound, I don't mean to sound trite, but it's almost like you need to even talk about like an exit strategy, right?
That is not trite at all.
Or
Absolutely.
a relationship. Like, what's mine? What's yours? How are we going to respect that? Keep it separate? Like, what's marital? What's separate? And so there, you know what I mean? It creates less considerations and less arguments down the road.
Everything is great, right? The first week.
Yeah, your emotions are
It's
going.
the emotions are
right?
going,
Ooh, he's so cute.
and the parallels between the personal relationships and the business relationship or partnerships, if you will, are striking, aren't they?
Oh, very much so. It's like a marriage. Actually, it's more intertwined sometimes than a marriage.
You got to fill us in your story if you feel free to describe when you were young in your first date.
Oh, on my father, what my father made me do.
You gotta share this story because I think it really typifies why
I love contracts.
What you love contracts and what forward thinking is all about. Go ahead.
So I was telling Francisco that my father is the one who really instilled this love of contracts, negotiation, and deals, right? Making deals all the time. And I really wanted to date this boy who was too old for me, right? And so my father made me put together a full presentation as to why I should be able to date him. I had to put together a PowerPoint, present it to him.
I love that.
Talk about what we would, but really more importantly, what we would not do. And then he made me and the new boyfriend sign it.
I love
Now,
that.
here's the sad part about that story that I never told you. After all of that work, I didn't want to date him anymore.
Oh, my God.
I mean, by the time we got to that point, and I think he knew that. I think my dad
I
is
was
an
gonna say,
evil
I think he
genius.
did.
Yeah, I think he knew it. So, of course, I have 2 girls, so you know what's happening with them. One of them is about to turn 13. I can't wait for her to want to date. I mean, I can't wait, but I'm just really excited about making her put together the presentation and the contract for it.
You're going to play this show back to her, and she's going to go, Mom.
Yeah. Well, she knows her papa. I mean, he's made her do similar things. It doesn't go away, that personality type.
We are discussing why partnerships fail. In studio, we have my distinguished co-host, and if she sounds like an attorney, is because she is. Megan Porth, managing attorney at your contract shop. Michelle Buonincontri, certified divorce. I can't help it. There was I interviewed this gentleman yesterday who owns a vineyard, and he had this great double gold wine winner and so on and so forth. And he had an Italian name, and I kept romancing his last name. And he's looking at me. This guy is like about, I don't know, 256 pounds. He's balding. He's older gentleman and stuff. And when I look at him, I'm waxing him romantically, about the wine and everything else. And he's looking at me strange. So Michelle Buonincontri, of course, certified financial analyst at Being Mindful in Divorce, and Susan F. Moody. See?
Very good.
Francis, managing director of eWomenNetwork. And let's, again, for the record, she's a certified success coach. My Latin accent. And we're discussing, of course, why business relationships fail. Not necessarily business fail. We know why businesses, but why business relationships fail. Sometimes there's too many cooks in the kitchen, Megan.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And that's that's one thing that I do see. And it's not necessarily that there are too many cooks in the big kitchen. There's too many fingers in the pot. I'm really bad at metaphors. I hope that works. But basically, what's happening is that you did not define what each person was responsible for, and I see that a lot. We all think we're an expert. We all think that we're going to be good at this or good at that. And so when you join into a partnership, you have to be very, very clear as to what you can do. And I think that even applies to personal relationships.
Absolutely.
Like for my husband, I said, I'm going to make this very clear. You can always cook. Some of that too, of course. But I mean, for me, it's like I know what I'm good at and what I'm not good at, and so you have to be very clear about that. And that's why I think, and I know this sounds extremely existential, but the process of going through who's going to be good at what and forming this partnership is actually good for you as a human. It forces you to be more introspective and to understand what you're good at, and to kind of be a little humble and not try to do everything all the time.
Interesting. So, Michelle, when 2 alphas enter into a relationship, let's say a personal relationship, should one of those alphas be subservient well, subservient is not the word, but rather take a supporting role and leave the toughest decisions to the other individual? Or is it something that, as partners, we're going to make a joint decision? Does it happen that in the real life, or I have to make this decision? I started the business with you, but I know what is best for us.
I think it depends on the individuals, but I would agree with Megan said again. You need to have a conversation about that, and maybe you're going to break it down. Like, I'm in charge of this area, and I have the final say, or it could even be with a marriage, right? I'm the one that's primarily home with the children, so I'm going to make these decisions. Maybe you're better in finance, you're over here, but I think there has to be a discussion about that, or you're going to constantly be butting heads, right? And that doesn't really get anybody any further.
Yeah, and there are concepts in economy or in economics that say that we all should be doing what we're best at. Mm-hmm. That's why segregating people or compartmentalizing based on gender doesn't work, because, again, my family would be starving if we were in the 1950s. Thank God I could go to law school because I have no other value.
What defines, Susan Moody, you're a certified success coach.
Yes.
What defines success in a business partnership?
Well, I think one of the things that we're talking about that we haven't really hit on yet, and that I think people sometimes miss, is that your initial contract doesn't have to be your lifelong contract, right? They're negotiable, and they can constantly change, just like your relationship changes. And so I think what defines success is when the two of you talk about it and you're able to work together and continue moving forward together and growing your business together, that makes it successful. Whatever works for you. I think, like Megan was saying, it's not a one-size-fits-all. Right. And like Michelle's saying, it's kind of like it's a partnership, so you have to figure it out. But I think people miss that. They think what they set down, they take all this time, set all these things down, and you don't really know each other. So let's take a short term, let's do like a trial period and figure it out, and then just keep growing it as we go.
Megan, you agree?
Oh, 100%. I mean, that's something that we talk about with our clients a lot, and we tell them that and what I like about that too, Susan, is that it makes it much more manageable. Because when you look at an operating agreement, for instance, right, and that's the contract that you form if you have a limited liability company in Arizona, it doesn't have to account for absolutely everything that could happen, because that's impossible. Mm-hmm. It just needs to account for your culture, your goals, and then what happens if we have to exit, right, or if there's a problem.
Speaking of exit.
Nice.
You're just providing just the best segues in the world. I tell you what, man, that's why you are a pro, and everybody's a pro here. Very intelligent conversation. I'm going to have to rethink all my partnerships, written or unwritten. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Entrepreneurs en Fuego radio show, the #1 multimedia broadcast in the universe. The best show for entrepreneurs. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Coverage you can count on around the clock. News, weather, and the KFNX traffic team. Independent Talk, 1100 KFNX.
A lot of the country east of the Rockies is freezing, although it is warmer than it was yesterday. Snow and sleet caused hundreds of accidents on icy roads, killing at least 9 people. Meteorologist Allison Chinchar has today's chilly temperatures.
We have winter precipitation and freezing rain in Maine, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, stretching all the way down towards Nashville. We've had power outages and power lines that have snapped and come down in Nashville because of some of those issues.
The UN Security Council will vote on a resolution today demanding immediate and unconditional access to Aleppo and other areas of Syria. The UN wants to deliver humanitarian aid. Correspondent Mohammed Leela says an evacuation from Aleppo may happen today.
We've seen a very sharp uptick in the number of trucks that are crossing the border as well into Syria. The Turkish government says these are filled with humanitarian relief. We've also seen some heavy construction equipment that's been crossing the border, as well as ambulances.
75 buses have arrived in eastern Aleppo now. I'm Christopher Cruz.
From the KFNX WeatherBug Weather Center for this morning, a clear sky, sunny today with a high of 62. Clear tonight, low 38. Sunshine Monday, high 66. Tuesday and Wednesday, sunny, highs each day 70. Sunny Thursday, high again 70. I'm meteorologist Jim Rinaldi from the KFNX WeatherBug Weather Center.
Currently, in downtown Phoenix, it's 39 degrees.
Next news in 30 minutes or when it breaks. Here on Independent Talk, 1100 KFNX.
The Office Pile is one of the top co-working spaces in the nation because it provides the best office space for a multicultural and diverse business community. If you're a business owner looking to rent space, join today for as little as $165 a month. Never a contract or long-term lease. The Office Pile offers you the most beautiful and affordable office space and event hosting destination in Arizona. We can host any event from 2 to 500 guests. TheOfficePile.com, TheOfficePile.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-643-6931 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-643-6931 to take your call now. Call 1-800-643-6931. That's 1-800-643-6931. Again, 1-800-643-6931.
Would you like to expand your business? I'm Francis Battaglia, president of Independent Talk, 1100 KFNX. KFNX is one of the most cost-effective and powerful ways to get your message out, reach potential customers, and grow your business. Advertise for only $10 per 30-second spot on top shows like Laura Ingraham and Michael Savage. Call me at 602-277-1100, extension 1463. 602-277-1100, extension 1463.
The Office Pile is one of the top co-working spaces in the nation because it provides the best office space for a multicultural and diverse business community. If you're a business owner looking to rent space, join today for as little as $165 a month. Never a contract or long-term lease. The Office Pile offers you the most beautiful and affordable office space and event hosting destination in Arizona. We can host any event from 2 to 500 guests. TheOfficePile.com, TheOfficePile.com.
Este baile no hay salida, que corre el tiempo. Pégate y zumba conmigo con movimiento. Este baile no hay salida.
I have that type of music.
Yes.
So early this morning for a purpose. So to wake up the body, get the endorphins going. Welcome back. My name is Francisco Javier. I am joined by my guest co-host who, unbeknownst to me, has more radio experience than anyone that I've known in my lifetime. Megan Porth, managing attorney at Your Contract Shop, and guests Michelle Buonincontri, certified divorce financial analyst, and Susan F. Moody, managing director of eWomenNetwork, inspirational speaker. Good morning again.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Let me pay some more bills. This portion of the show is brought to you by Infusionsoft, sales and marketing automation software built exclusively for small business success. We are discussing why business partnerships fail. And let me go back to my co-host, Megan Porth. Megan, you have had broadcast experience forever. The show is yours, man. Save me. Save me. Talk a little bit more about what you do with your business and how you're helping folks and so forth.
Yeah, definitely. So when I first started out, I was in litigation because I like showboating. I don't know if you got that yet, guys, but I'm all about me.
I just spilled my coffee went just projectile.
You thought it was going to be something really sophisticated, but no, it was all about me. But once I got out there and I did business litigation, right? So I handled a lot of corporate issues, and it was contract disputes, almost always. And they were all almost always emotional, too. I will say that. Yeah. Where I found that the court was an unlikely fit. It's ill-equipped to handle the issues that most people are bringing to it, quite honestly. So what I did is I would ask them, why didn't you have an attorney review this operating agreement or this contract or whatever it was? And I got one of three answers, or sometimes all of them. It was, I don't know an attorney. I can't afford an attorney. That was number one. Or I hate attorneys. I got that one a lot too. So what I did is I revisited the entire legal business model. I saw that it was overburdened and cumbersome with overhead. And so I challenged myself. I said, okay, how can I get the overhead as low as possible, make it as easy and as, I don't want to say the word fun, but light to come to see me, to come to see attorneys. And that is where Your Contract Shop was born. So you go online, you're able to just have your contract review. We turn them around in 24 hours. It's easy. Everything's web-based. You sign everything. You pay everything online. You don't have to go through 5 or 6 different layers. You don't have to go to a big office on the 14th floor and pay for parking and so on and so forth. And the price point is just unbelievably competitive. And people really like it.
It is ridiculous, the price point. And so you review all the documents that we download from the internet then? And we...
Yes, Francisco. Yes.
I'm a legal eagle. I'm going to download this partnership agreement. Bam, there it is. Just sign on the dotted line. Right?
Yes, I mean those are ones I get the most, right? And even the ones off of things like LegalZoom, which is kind of like basically a document preparation company. I get a lot of those because the truth is again, you need an expert. You need somebody who understands the law, not just understands the law, but understands practically what can happen, who has seen the other side if you don't do this. Oh, and this is how I get my clients to kind of move along on some of this stuff. Yeah, I know that this part seems like a lot of legalese or something you don't necessarily want because you don't want to muddy up the partnership. But let me give you an example of somebody who lost $1.5 million off of that.
Ouch.
So whenever I have those kinds of examples, people generally will say, oh, okay, I'd like to talk a little bit more about that. And you and I have spoken about asset purchase agreements where I've seen, I mean, at a minimum, we're talking about $500,000 all the way up to 10, 15 million. And a lot of these people, it is a 2-page piece of paper that they've put together. I told you that's the one that makes me the sickest, right? Because I'm going, oh, please don't download it off the internet. That is the time to call someone who knows what they're doing.
And that's where you come in. Megan Porth, managing attorney at Your Contract Shop. And it is anybody that has a contract or an agreement in a piece of paper, in a napkin, toilet paper, please bring it over to Megan.
Well, you know what I love about that, Francisco, I just
ahead.
want to mention because I deal with a lot of entrepreneurs, right?
Right.
And so I think the other thing that you didn't mention when people are talking about attorneys is they don't feel they're approachable.
Right.
And they don't feel they can ask the questions
exactly
without feeling like they're asking the wrong questions or they're going to be looked down upon because they don't know what to ask. So I like that you're making it very approachable.
Yeah. That was my goal because, like I said, all these people, I even had friends who wouldn't come when I would tell them, hey, I'll help you. And they wouldn't come to my office because they thought that I was going to have to charge them or they thought they were really intimidated. Can I meet you for coffee, Megan? I'm like, all right, fine. I got to drive over to this coffee shop. And then they'd spill their guts to me. So there is something there. I don't exactly know what it is, but there is an emotional reaction to attorneys and law firms. So I'm getting rid of it all. I'm just going to say, okay, you guys just meet me online. It's going to be easy. It's going to be pain-free, and you're going to enjoy yourself while you do it. Well, maybe not everybody who's
But
involved.
taking away that intimidation factor, I think, is huge, especially for women entrepreneurs.
Very much so.
This is probably, for me, and the way that I would equate it is the only time that virtuality works because much like when we have social media and we text and email and try to avoid that emotional connection with the other individual, and thus we email, we text, and we message and so forth, to have a contract reviewed and taking away that behavioral aspect of it by just emailing it to you or by just forwarding it to you in any manner or shape, then it cuts away that you're going to review it very matter-of-factly, remove the emotion from it. And that's probably why people are going to you.
Yeah, definitely, because I'm not close to the issues,
exactly,
right?
Exactly.
So I get to ask those questions, and I get to think about the things that they aren't thinking about, and I also get to put things in perspective for them. So when we're talking about your mindset, I get to put it into perspective. So earlier, Francisco, when you were asking, okay, well, should you be communicating on the level of whether this person, if they don't text within 30 minutes and so on?
Right.
That actually depends. Like, I mean, really, that may be a big deal for some people. I know people who say, we work all weekend, you own a business, you're an entrepreneur, your first break is at 6 a.m. on Sunday morning. other people say, no, I have very clear work-life balance, and so I will not be communicating with you between 5 o'clock on Friday and 8 a.m. on Monday.
It's all about expectations.
Definitely.
And it reminds me of the people that put the for sale by owner signs in front of the yard.
Yes.
If you do that, it's game on.
Right.
Because if it is 9 p.m. and I'm happening to drive by your property and you got a phone number there, I'm calling you.
Right.
Or if the light's on, I might be knocking on
I'm
your door.
knocking on your door. Susan Moody, Managing Director of eWomenNetwork, inspirational speaker, best-selling author, certified, let me see if I can say this correctly, success coach. She's the day radio host. Tell us more about your business and what you do.
Well, I actually work with entrepreneurs like I was just sharing. So I have a new partnership myself. So when I was on Top Foundation, when I was in your office doing the interview there, I was doing You Succeed. That's my private coaching business. But now I have a partnership with Starshine Associates. And so we are working with entrepreneurs and helping them kind of establish their focus and foundation for their business. So I'm glad to have these resources because, Michelle, I think you're like the premarital counseling, right? Make sure they're getting into business for the right reason and then make sure they have their contracts and things set up to really help them figure out what it is business that they want, why they want it, and come up with their roadmap, right, to how to achieve it. Because I have a lot of background. I haven't had over 10 small businesses myself. So that's what I love to do.
Did you say 10?
Over 10.
Over 10 small businesses.
Actually, I was writing them down the other day because Leanne, my business partner, is like, how many have you really had? And it was actually close to 20. But I love being an entrepreneur, right? I love creating new business. So that's what does it for me. So I like to say with Leanne and I that she will help you figure out your purpose and your passion, and I'll help you figure out how to make it happen. And that's how we work together.
What? Let me ask you this question. What constitutes being in business? Because you say, all right, I've had, close to 20 businesses or over 20. What makes you define being in business?
I'm making money doing something.
All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And that's actually very close to the legal definition, just so you know.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, we form partnerships just when even without some kind of documentation or any kind of filing with the Corporation Commission, you have a general partnership when two people decide to embark on an endeavor together. You're right.
Okay.
Interesting. Michelle Buonincontri, certified divorce. I'm telling you right now, anytime I say that D word, it just jumble.
Yeah.
Certified divorce financial analyst. Tell us more about what you do and how you help folks.
Okay. Well, I'm actually a certified financial planner as well. And so I work with individuals, families, small businesses, creating retirement income, investment management. And then I specialize in divorce financial planning. So because of my own divorce experience, that's a passion of mine, where I really feel like I can make a difference in the space of families and helping them to create and maintain as much wealth as they can after the divorce. Because we're really going from a situation where the same amount of assets and cash flow for one family now needs to be divided in two. And, thinking about what you were saying, Megan, so many people want to go online here in Arizona, and they either want to go to an attorney for litigation, or they want to do it yourself.
Right.
And it's really scary. It really is. And I think people think there's like two schools of thought. I don't have enough assets, so why wouldn't I do it myself? Right? There's nothing to think about. Or I'm going to go to my attorney. They know it, right? And so they're looking to the attorney for the emotional support, and they're really not equipped in most cases to address that. And they're looking for them also to answer the financial questions. And if you need your car fixed, would you go to your heart specialist, right? They both fix things.
Right.
I do that all the time.
Right. Yeah. But your attorney really isn't going to have that financial expertise. And so you really need someone who can look at your assets and look at the cash flow, the net worth, not just today, but where is the appreciation going to be, the cash flow 10, 20, 30 years out, and are you going to be okay? And taxes is huge. That's a huge consideration when you're doing retirement planning. And I don't want to say it's almost more important, but it almost is in divorce. Because if you don't look at the assets the right way, it can have such a huge impact. And then you're starting almost completely over at that point. And so really helping clients, whether we're working with them individually or with their mediator or attorney, to really see what the impacts are of the different settlement choices that they're considering. So then they can really make an informed decision, have peace of mind, and feel empowered that they made the right decision for their family and not have buyer's remorse later.
Do you sit down with both individuals or just with one of the parties?
I prefer to work with couples who want to amicably resolve their divorce. I mean, I could work as an expert witness, but that's not really where I want to play. I want to be part of healing. So I really like to work with two people who say, we loved each other once, it's a difficult situation, but in the end, they recognize that marriage is a financial partnership. It really is, and people don't look at it like that, but you need to look at it as if any other partnership that you would have joined in, right?
Yeah, let me ask you this, though. I mean, how do you maintain neutrality when you are in between both of them?
Well, so for me, a number of years ago, I did go and I became certified as life coach, more around my investment management business because people get very emotional, right, with the stock market.
Oh, yeah.
And so it just kind of helps to have that listening. And I also was trained as a mediator. And so I think it's really being present to what's going on with somebody. And so when you can see if somebody is like, I need this, I have to have this, then you know it's really more than just keeping the house or they need to have that pension plan, and kind of stopping and saying, what's really going on for you? And then when you dig a little deeper, maybe it's a fear, right? A fear that they're not going to have enough. And so they're fixating on that one asset. But once you know what it really is, okay, maybe there's a better way to address this. So I try to use those skills. And I think the other thing, too, is when people see the facts, then they can be more objective in their negotiations. You know, if somebody says, I have to have this house, but then they see they're going to be cash poor in 3 years and have to sell it, and now they can't put food on the table for their children, well, then it becomes a little bit more real. And they're willing to say, well, maybe I need to downsize, or maybe there's another way we can work this out. So the facts really provide, I think, a lot of clarity.
Yeah. Yeah, facts are key.
Facts are key. If you just
like a true attorney.
Exactly. If you just tune in, this is the Entrepreneurs en Fuego radio show. With me in studio, we have guest co-host Megan Porth, managing attorney at your contract shop, and my dear guest, Michelle Buonincontri, whom you just heard from, certified divorce analyst, and Susan F. Moody, managing director of eWomenNetwork and inspirational speaker. Megan, I asked Michelle if she keeps that neutrality when she meets with both parties. Now, in your case, you have to choose between one or the other partner, correct?
Essentially, but not if I'm helping them form the entity or draft an operating agreement. And this gets a little nuancy, but when I'm drafting an operating agreement, I actually represent the company. And I know that seems really weird because it's probably one partner or both of them who have hired me, but I don't represent them. So you have to choose 100%. Now, I don't think that's the case in family law, though, for many family law attorneys. I think that as long as there isn't a chance that it's going to turn adversarial, which always makes me laugh because I feel like there's always I'm like, I guess that's but you have to use your best judgment as an attorney, right? You get a lot of credence as far as kind of your training and what have you. But so when I am representing the company, I represent the company. I don't represent the members. You don't represent the members, you represent the company. You must have seen in your lifetime as in doing these negotiations, in reviewing contracts, some horrible stories, but also some success stories. In your experience, what makes and we've talked about all the bad things about partnerships, but in your case, what makes a very good and solid agreement between the parties going forward? So, well, for one, if it's the earlier the better. So the earlier you can get in and start contracting, the better. And I think that this is across the board, no matter whether we're talking about personal or professional. We all still like each other, right? We're all still really happy. Everyone is really generous still. Like, oh my gosh, yes, of course, but after you, right? Mm-hmm. So if we do it early, then everyone is in this kind of hopeful, happy state of mind. And in fact, that's how the brain works anyway, right? When we're happy and we feel like it's, quote, for us, then that primitive brain, that fight or flight mode doesn't kick in. So we're, and our prefrontal cortex is engaged. So we get to work harder. We are really creative then. And then also, and I'm not trying to say this so that I get more business, but hire an attorney. When they have a licensed attorney, someone who understands what is happening, not just necessarily with their business, although that helps, but what's happening in the business world and has seen some experience, I see those being the most beneficial partnerships because you've vetted out all of the nastiness, so you guys get to go forward clean. There's no underlying issues. Just like when you were in bed with that snake, you knew that, right? It was in the pit of your stomach. If you had vetted it out and you knew that, okay, well, I may be in bed with a snake, but I've insulated myself so that he or she cannot bite me, or when they do, I'm not, I don't die from it. Then you can keep going forward, and you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. Well, you do, but it's just not as painful as you go down the line.
And even if you draft the best operating agreement or the best agreement in the world, going forward, when the money starts coming in, hopefully, and the business just flourishes, there will, I don't care how solid or how ironclad and how beautiful the agreement looked today, 3 years from now, you might be having second thoughts about what you signed or about what you with the agreement that you entered into, because now the money is there, and I may feel that I am doing much more of the work than my partner is.
Right.
And that is a hard thing and very difficult to predict and to plan for, isn't it?
Well, it is and it isn't. There are provisions that cover everything, every kind of instance. It's just whether or not you want to have a 50-page operating agreement. So what you do is, just like Susan was saying, you actually plan for reconsideration. You look at amendments. You make amendments to this because it's a living, breathing document. It's not just going to sit there up in a shelf. You should be addressing what's happening in your agreements constantly because they guide the relationship. So you and I are arguing over something. We're partnership. Well, if I vote yes and you vote no, what do? We have to have a tiebreaker. And those are the things that happen out of the first day, right? I mean, so you have all of these ways that you are managing the expectations, managing the relationship along the way. So hopefully you will also build in a contingency set that says that we will revisit this every year.
And those disagreements could be all the way from what color our business card is going to be to what the font is, all the way to when the business starts growing. Do we expand? Do we hire 10 more people? Do we not? And so all those little decisions are big decisions. So it's very, very, very interesting. So,
well, I think it's very much like you're talking about, like in a marriage relationship, because like Francisco, you were saying sometimes you're giving 100%, you feel your partner's not, and that sort of thing. And so I'm sure Michelle's very familiar with it. With that,
we're going to go back to Michelle to get that personal perspective. But you need to have
really. I think it really comes down to make sure your core values are in place and that you can work through the ups and downs of the relationship and the partnership. And it's great that you can have, like we said, we kind of re-explore it, but it's going to happen, right?
Yeah, because I think that's a really great point. Is when you're working through a contract. Especially in a business, you need to make sure that you work through the mission, vision, values with your client or with your partner, because those are the guiding. So it's kind of like I always liken it to the Constitution, right? Our Constitution and our Bill of Rights in particular have a nice overarching umbrella under which we are guiding our entire relationship. So then you have all these rules and regulations that come out of that, but we always get to look back to the quote supreme law of the land or our supreme law of our partnership, and we can say, okay, based on our vision, based on our mission, our values, and then this part of our operating agreement, this is how we can make the decision.
It's interesting, and that's why I equate, and I cannot help but equate the business relationships and the business partnerships to the personal partnerships, right?
Yeah.
We go out on a first date. My goodness gracious, I'm just pulling the chair and opening the door and paying for dinner and sending you flowers afterwards and surprising you with all these, beautiful things. And by the third week, I'm still doing that. But by the third month, after I got what I wanted,
you're tired.
You're like,
that's a lot of work.
But sometimes it happens right after you say "I do," right?
Aren't you, honey? Really? You have to wear that cream tonight, Michelle?
What happened to those sexy nightgowns?
Exactly. What? Jeez.
Yoga pants, big t-shirts.
But that's the same thing that happens in a business relationship. Everything starts great. And what I said to you in that initial meeting when we sat down and we said that this is how our partnership was going to go on, it's not exactly what you are 6 months down the road.
Right.
You are a drunk. You're not a social drinker. Come on. So what happened? What went wrong? Michelle, how can we protect ourselves once again? And I know we talk about communications and providing expectations in the front end. Is there anything else that we should be aware of or do when we start a partnership?
I think that around marriage, there's education is completely lacking. I would love to see. I know when I had gotten married years ago, we had something called pre-Cana. I'm Roman Catholic, and so for 2 weeks we had to go to pre-Cana.
Pre-Cana?
Yeah, and it was. It was not enough, I'll tell you, but it was a good idea. Like, I think maybe in high school even, like in 12th grade, they're like when you teach them to write a checkbook, like maybe there'd be some kind of relationship management class, something that teaches these skills up front. But for me, when I'm working with individuals or couples in a divorce process, one of the things that I try to do, and I asked them, and everybody said yes, which I think is wonderful, is I have them create a vision statement for their divorce process. And then also create a vision statement for what they want their life to look like together after the divorce if they have children. And if they don't, it's okay. It's more reflective of them just as a single person. The other thing, if you have children, you have to do a parenting plan. So you're going to get a lot more into the details of what happens when they're this age, what happens when they're going to date, what are we going to do around religion, different things like that. So you really can get specific, but it would be great if we did do this up front as parents or just as partners.
The similarities between the personal relationships are frightening.
Yeah.
You're talking about parenting. You have employees. Those are your kids.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Well, I tell my kids, I say, this is a business. I mean, I know that sounds a little cold, but I run my house like a business. And so I tell my oldest, especially because she's a preteen, so you know where I'm at with that one. But I tell her, I say, you are not contributing to this business. We all have things that we're trying to accomplish. What is your accomplishment? And we sit down, we go through the vision. I know I'm that mom.
No, I was that mom too. I got so much heat for that.
I know. And now they're probably like, thank you, Mom, for providing me with this. But it is. We undervalue the training that's necessary to develop really great relationships, and it all comes down to having goodwill toward each other, having the values, the culture, and communicating.
That's what it really comes down to. It's
Communicating.
really about communication. That's the point.
That's it.
Like all good things in life, things must come to an end. Tune in every Sunday on this your independent radio station, 1100 KFNX, from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. Did I say A.N.? much like Sexco. I'm telling you, I have no idea what's happening here. This show's out of control. Tune in. What a show. You cannot let a fear of failure or fear of comparison or a fear of judgment stop you from doing what's going to make you great. You cannot succeed without the risk of failure. You cannot have a voice without the risk of criticism. And you cannot love without the risk of loss. You must go out there and take the risks. This has been the Entrepreneurs en Fuego radio show, the #1 multimedia broadcast show for entrepreneurs in the planet. We're out.
The Office Pile is one of the top co-working spaces in the nation because it provides the best office space for a multicultural and diverse business community. If you're a business owner looking to rent space, join today for as little as $165 a month. Never a contract or long-term lease. The Office Pile offers you the most beautiful and affordable office space and event hosting destination in Arizona. We can host any event from 2 to 500 guests. TheOfficePile.com, TheOfficePile.com.
The Del Walmsley Show, weekdays at 2 p.m.
You need to stop being dependent on a paycheck. All of these self-help motivational people, they wind you up like a little clock. Click, 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 and then they'll let you go.
The Del Walmsley Show, weekdays at 2 p.m.
The Savage Nation, afternoons at 5 p.m.
I don't want to hear the word Trump or Hillary.